Hello, everybody. Reggie Time here, and today we're going to be looking at a whole bunch of 25 hands that I've played, mostly on the GG poker site, and lastly, the last few hands are going to be from Party Poker. Just a brief summary of what I've been doing so far this month. We started off the first, oh no, it wasn't even this month. Monday, in Monday's video, I said I was going to be focusing on Sky. That quickly changed. I played the whole day on Sky Monday. Um, Through the day, the games weren't too bad. In the evening, they were just diabolical. You could barely get a seat at a good table. And if you're playing on Sky and you can't get good tables, many good tables, there's no point being there. It's high-ish rake environment. You're not going to get fantastic volume. The software is a bit shit. So it's just not worth it. Sky is about low volume, very high win rate, just finding good spots to play. And when Sky isn't providing that, in my opinion, it's a bit of a waste of time. So I made a small deposit onto GG just to well, not I say to take a look. I know what the games are like on there, the nitty and the shit, but just to see if I four tabled 25 Russian cash, what kind of like volume I could get. Try and have a rough estimate of like where I might be with win rate, etc. And I ended up playing 10,000 hands in the first day, which must have meant I enjoyed it. Although I'm not sure I did and I didn't. And so far this month I played 16,000 hands. And bearing in mind there's only been 2 full days to play, I'm making this video 22/11 on the 3rd of February. I think 16,000 hands in that time. I'm pretty fucking pleased with it. There's quite a lot of hands to review. I haven't looked back at any of them. I've just marked them in Hold'em Manager for review. It's just kind of biggish pots that I thought maybe were quite interesting. Some might be quite dull. Who knows? But we're going to go back and look through them all because, bear in mind, I've been playing these hands at a rate of 1,000 hands per hour. So there's going to be some mistakes and there's going to be maybe some bad autopilot or what have you. So we're going to look at them, and before each decision comes on the replayer, I'm going to say what I think I would do if I had more time to think and then see what I've done when I've been playing at like 1,000 hands per hour pace. So we'll start cracking on with the hands, and we'll see just how many mistakes I made. So this first time we have 2 10s. We've min raised the button. We've been 3-bet. All these players are unknown. Just assume nit for all of them unless something bonkers happens, because mostly on GG, it's very rare you see a table with an actual genuine like high V pit fish on it. So we've been 3-bet. We 4-bet the 10s. He goes, oh, this is not going to be a particularly interesting first hand, is it? We've got 10s in pre, and we've lost to ace 4. Well, let's hope some of them are more interesting. I mean, I guess one thing once you decide to 4-bet 10s in this spot, you've got to call. Guess we could just have called and seen the flop. I don't fucking know, but that hand isn't really interesting. I promise you, they're not all ins pre-flops. I can promise you that. We've min raised the aces. We've got a call from the big blind. We've got the Queen 7-7 flop. We've c-bet. We've been raised. When we min raised, the big blind can have all kinds of stuff. I actually do remember this hand, and I was really quite annoyed with myself. So spoiler alert, we're going to lose. When we min raise, big blind can just have so many combinations of 7x. I think people's fall to min raise, even on triple eight. Even not on triple eight, or even on GG where everyone's a fucking nit and min raise to get through a lot. I think we don't get through the big blind with the super high frequency, and we should already have been a little bit worried here. I mean, he's probably got a 7. If not, he's got a queen that he's overplaying. You would imagine most of the time we call. Turns to 3. He bets pretty big. I mean, what's been really good so far this month has been generally been my pattern recognition, and by that I mean like just seeing lines over and over again and just having a good understanding of what they mean. And this just means I've got the fucking nuts sunbeam. There's no draws on board. Well, the backdoor spades have come in, so I guess he could have check raised something with spades and then just barreling. It's a thing. Some frequency. He's going to have some spades here. I don't think he's going to have a queen very much anymore, although who knows, maybe he does. But it's mostly just going to be 7x. We call again. Remember this, he snap jammed the river, and this is just probably should be an easy fold. this is one of the worst calls I remember making this month, or feels like it. And of course, he had the 7, and yeah, that was not good from me. That was not good. I think we can definitely just fold the turn. I said that just really exploiting players' tendencies, because even though they can check raise, backdoor spades, backdoor diamonds, backdoor hearts on the flop. You hear people talking about that sort of thing all the time if you watch strategy videos or you watch people playing online. As much as they can have that, they don't very often, do they? More than often than not, they just have what they're repping, and that is a 7. And I think we didn't need to lose 100 big blinds there. Here we have the 10-8 of diamonds with now 2.5xing. I will mix my sizings up, and I think as much as anything else, it's just to not. If people think they've got a resale Reggie's min raising, this means that to it. So that's kind of confused people. Sometimes I'll min raise, sometimes I'll 2x, sometimes I'll 2.5x, sometimes I'll 3x. What I've been doing mostly a lot of the time is doing a lot of 3xing with hands that I want to 4-bet, just because it puts more money in the pot when we do get 3-bet versus if we min raise, for example. And like I talked earlier in the year about which wanted to 4-bet rip ace king a lot pre-flop. So if we min raise and you got all these motherfuckers who are just 3-betting to 6x over a min raise, then you're not making as much when you put your 4-bet rip in and they fold. Whereas if we 3x and then they make it 9x or 8x or 10x or what have you, we're just making more money from the pre-flop rip. And I don't think their ranges change very much. We just win more money that way. So I am doing something quite exploitable in that with my ace kings and my pocket kings, I'm pretty much 3xing all the time, just to allow me to put that 4-bet shove in and make more money. But that I don't know why. I do know why I'm doing that. Whether it's good or not, who knows? But it's been working out okay so far. But yeah, I'll go through for an hour or so in a session or half an hour. I'll be like, min raise for a bit, then I'll just start 2.5xing for no reason other than let's just start to make 2.5xing and what have you. It really makes no difference. We're talking about something that's completely trivial, really. So anyway, we've raised. We've been 3-bet. I'm trying very hard to fold to a lot of 3-bets this month, but I have a real hard time folding these types of hands in position versus 3-bets from the blinds. Probably should fold. We probably have no more than maybe 30 to 35% equity in this spot, but we have position and our hand's pretty. So we do make the call. Flop the open ender. Our opponent down bets to just sort of 7 blinds. I think there's no reason to do anything other than call here. I wouldn't raise with 7. I wouldn't raise with 9s full. So if I do anything other than call, I'll be a little bit disappointed. We do just call. Turn a straight. Our opponent checks. So if I was playing this now and I've got more time to think, what I think my opponent's range looks like. It's going to have an awful lot of just ace, king, ace, queen, ace, 10. Random bluffs, king X, queen X, etc. Basically, I'd imagine most of his 3-bets are going to want to continue, or not going to want to, but will continue. The pool tends to just 3-bet, c-bet a lot. So, hands he probably shouldn't be c-betting. He probably is going to c-bet using that size. So he can still have a lot of air in his range. Then we haven't got the nuts because he can absolutely have jacks full. He can absolutely have 9s full. So we haven't necessarily got the nuts, but we're going to treat it like we've got the nuts. And so now I guess the question is, do we want to target our opponent's air? Do we want to just bet really small, maybe induce a raise from them, just get them to call with ace high, queen high, destroying dead, etc.? Or do we want to target their pocket aces, pocket kings, pocket queens, etc.? That they're probably going to want to check this board quite a lot. And I can go either way on that, depending on what I think of the player. I guess in general, I'm just going to go larger and hope that they're just sitting there with aces, kings, queens, etc. So generally, I'd probably want to go larger here because we're not going to win that much more from their air. Maybe we could bet quarter pot or something, 1/3 pot, and get some sad calls from ace highs. But it doesn't do a good job of building the pot for us to shove the river. So more often than not, I'm just going to be hoping they're in there with something that can call a largish bet. And I'd like to see myself go something in the regions of half pot to 75% pot, depending on just how stationary and how bad. The worse I think the player is, the more likely I'm going to go much larger. because I think a bad player here just isn't going to be able to fold aces. Look at me in the last hand. Um, but whereas a good player, they might not give us too much more value with a lot of the stuff. So I end up going 2/3 pot, and opponent calls. Break river, he checks. We just go all in. He calls, and he had the ace jack. From our perspective, really good result. His, um, I mean, I think generally speaking, if you're calling river shoves in these games with just like pure bluff catchers, it's probably not going to be good long term. You're going to have a lot of disappointment. And I speak very much as the voice of experience on that, as someone who's made a lot of really bad calls. That we all have. Anyone watching this video will have called large river bets with pure bluff catchers, knowing we're fucked, we're just hoping we're not. And every now and again, we're not fucked. And that gives us that extra little spur to do it again. And it's quite expensive. If we lost every single time we made these calls, we'd soon stop making them. And I think we probably should. So we drag that one down. Ace, jack of diamonds, we raise. Our opponent 3-bets. I guess we could 4-bet this hand, but I know I'm probably not going to. We don't want to open ourselves up to a 5-bet shove here, really. We've got a pretty nice hand. It's not doing brilliant against his range, but it's not doing terribly either. He's definitely going to have some worse hands that do this and some hands that, we're at least flipping against. And we have position. I mean, versus his range here, my guess is we have, something in the range of, I don't know, 35 to maybe 50% equity. And we have position, so we're not going to fold. We call. We flop ourselves a nut flush draw. An opponent bets 3/4 pot, which is a pretty big bet. I mean, I don't mind this. I know that the fashion these days is to 3-bet and then c-bet smallish. I think in theory that's if the computers are spitting that out, if the solvers are spitting that out, I think in theory that I'm not going to argue. I'm not going to say that's bad. I think in practice in microstakes poker, it's not good, not as good as just having larger bet sizes. I think you can still have the small bet sizes and just use them exploitably to kind of like block when you don't want to like check and face a larger bet with a hand that doesn't want to check fold. Sorry, that doesn't want to check call very often, but also doesn't want to just check fold. I think using them sizes then are good. But generally speaking, if you have a good hand, I think you better just bet him bigger because people just call too much. So I don't hate this sizing, but we've got to deal with this sizing now. And I think I can go either way here between calling and raising. I think this is a pretty good flop for our range. We hit this board relatively hard. We probably have all the sets in our range. Maybe he does too, but I think he has less pocket fives than us, less pocket sevens than us, pocket tens, probably similar amount. We also have the nut flush draw, so I'm happy to go either here. Raise sometimes, call sometimes. I think versus larger bet, probably. I think I prefer raising actually, because if we call here and we lose, we call here and we don't improve and he bombs the turn, it's going to be a pretty tough spot for us. Whereas right now we have 2 overcards, one of which may not be any good, both of which may not be any good if he's got exactly pocket aces, and a flush draw. So I think, even though we shouldn't be playing raises here in theory very often, we should just be playing call only most of the time. I don't actually mind raising here. So if I was going to raise, I'd probably raise, but it doesn't matter because we're just going to commit. He's going to know that any raise commits us. As if he jams, he knows we're calling. So I don't think it really matters if we choose to raise. I think size doesn't matter. I think it can go anywhere from small to all in. I really don't think it makes a huge difference. We go with the all in. Our opponent calls. We rip off the flush on the turn and hold on the river. Yeah, Queen 10, which I think is. I mean, pre-flop, I think it's a fine 3-bet. I don't think it's especially good, but I think it's okay. People just fold a lot. C-bet the flop pretty big. I like it. He's got a top pair, but it's very vulnerable. If he has got the best hand, it's vulnerable. I think when I go all in, fine. Even if I do just have a flush draw, I'm almost certainly going to have 2 overs with it. So his best case scenario is the one he's in now. He's up against like a flush draw plus overs. We also had the backdoor straight draw. There's blocking that slightly. I think, yeah, in a vacuum, he made a good call because he had the best hand. But I think long term, playing the hand the way he's played it probably isn't going to lead to too much happiness in these games. That's not to say that I played the hand brilliantly, but generally speaking, when you see bet in a 3-bet pot and someone goes all in, they're either going to have a very big combo draw or they're going to have a slightly better hand that they're trying to protect. So yeah, I'm not sure I love his play, but he had the best hand, so it's too hard to be critical. And maybe I overplayed my hand too. Maybe we both overplayed our hands there. How about that? So we've got the aces. Open 3-bet call. King 3-6. We don't have a spade. He checks. This is a spot where you would typically see people just bet small. It's something I've not been doing this month. I haven't been utilising the small bet very much at all. I mean, maybe this is a spot where we do it because the board is just like so innocuous. It's hard for him to have a better hand. If he does, it's just going to be a set. You know, probably doesn't have a set of kings. So we're only really worried here about sets of sixes, sets of three. So this is maybe something where we could have gone a little bit smaller. But for me, if he's got a calling hand, he's going to call 7 blinds. Then he's probably going to call 12, 13 blinds. So I wouldn't be surprised to see me use a larger size here. We go with 12. He check raises. If I shove here, I'll be very, very cross with myself. This is just the most trivial of trivial calls. I do shove. Reg, why am I shoving there? I don't like that. I don't really see what this shove's achieving. I mean, if he's check raising, the other check raising is set. Oh, maybe similar to the last hand where where we had the ace jack. He's either got a set or he's got a pretty big combo draw. Like a nut flush draw or something. I don't know. I guess what I'm just saying to myself is, well, I'm committed here, so I'm all in. But it's just way, way better to just call here. It's not a bad mistake, but it's bad autopiloting for me because this is just the most trivial of calls. Do not shove here, Reg. Anyway, our opponent calls. And he had the ace for a spade. So we got lucky that time because most of the time he's just going to have a set, I would imagine. Now and again, once in a while, he's going to have like ace king. Maybe king queen. That just like, fuck it, I'm all in. But yeah, I don't like my shove there. As it happens, it turned out for the best here. But I don't really like it very much. Aces again. 3x up to 10x. We get a cold call from the small blind. We get a call from the open raiser. We get the king 5-6 all diamonds. We do not have a diamond. Check, check. Don't remember this hand. I'm not sure what I want to do here, really. I mean, in theory, on monotone flops, you want to bet pretty small, but this is a 3-bet pot multi-way. And no one's really going to have too many flushes here in their cold calling range. I don't think small blind has flushes very often at all. Maybe under the gun can, if he's over calling with some suited stuff, he's opened under the gun and then he's just closing the action, getting a good price. So if anyone's going to have flushes here, it's most likely to be this fellow. I don't think there's too many flushes out there. No one's really got a set of kings, so the only thing to be worried about really is sets of 5s and sets of 6s. We don't really want to bet too small, I guess, to like just give diamonds a good price to draw. But if we bet too big, then we're going to get action from anything. Interesting. And what would I want to do here? I mean, I guess we just have to bet side over half pot, I think. We just don't want to like give a diamond a cheap draw. But then if we get raised, fuck knows. But I think anything above 16 big blinds here. We bet 12. We get a call. Turn is a jack. Our opponent checks. I wouldn't be surprised to see me shove here just for value. To deny equity from diamonds, to get value from any king exits out there. If he's in there with, I don't know, maybe pocket 10s with a diamond or something, I don't fucking know. But I wouldn't be surprised to see me jam here, because when he doesn't raise the flop, yeah, of course he can still have some traps, but I would imagine on this flop, if he had flopped the set of 5s or the set of 6s, we would have raised versus a 12 big blind bet. Don't think he would have just check called on this board texture too often with the set. So I think we're likely still good. I wouldn't be at all surprised to see me go all in here. Not saying it's the best play, but that's what I would imagine I'd do quite a lot of the time. And mostly, I'd be happy just to take it down, and when we do get called, I expect to have the best hand enough of the time to make it okay. I check back, okay. Don't know my own game very well, clearly. Our opponent bets the river. I mean, we can't take this line on fold, I don't think. We call, and he rivered a set of threes, Reggie. So yeah, we lost that one. That's I mean, someone cleverer than me. I mean, is he meant to call? I mean, I don't think he's meant to call that pre. Maybe he's because he's called. And fuck it. My biggest pet peeve in poker is cunts who set mine in 3-bet pots and then hit. I'm like, fuck off. You don't deserve to hit because the set mine out of position in 3-bet pots is a fucking. You're just setting fire to your red line, etc. I mean, I think it's a shit play. Some people might be able to make a case for it, but I think in a high rate, pretty nitty environment, if you're defending pocket pairs versus 3-bets, when you're going to be, especially when you're going to be out of position, I think you're in for a. I don't think you're going to make a lot of money doing that, and I think you're in for a lot of testing mental game spots. But anyway, he's done it. He's won the pot. Good for him. Ace 10 off. We raise the button 3x this time. You get 2 calls. We flop ourselves an ace. We get donked into. So this is an unusual line to see. This guy's probably, even though he was probably tight, he's clearly not a good player because he was stacked depth. I mean, if you're playing speed poker cash games, unless you're deliberately playing a short stacking strategy, in which place you're a cunt. But if you're like not playing 100 big steep, you're either a cunt short stacker or you're just someone who isn't very good. So we can assume this player isn't very good. There's no real reason to raise here, I wouldn't have thought. Although I did. And I don't think I like that. Why would I raise here? And I guess I'm just thinking this guy's maybe bad. But our hand just isn't really strong enough to justify raising here. So yeah, that's bad autopilot from Reggie because there's no reason to raise whatsoever. We do get bailed out a little bit by the turn. We turn 2 pair and our opponent now decides he wants to bomb for the full pot, and he's only got 28 behind, so we're obviously going to pile. He calls, and the flush draw gets there. But our opponent had ace, deuce, and diamond, so we sucked out on the turn there. And yeah, what a surprise. Bad player's donking. He's got a reasonable hand. Kings. Look away now, Juice, if you're watching this. Juicenberg, the famed man for just hating pocket kings. We're not scared of them, though. We 3-bet them like fucking real men, not like baldy nymph men. And our opponent calls. We flop ourselves a full house. So, I guess bet small or check. Doesn't really matter much. We bet small. Our opponent raises. We just clearly going to call. And I guess we're going to go for a check raise on the turn, are we? Our opponent bets 33. We just call. River 4. Check. Our opponent jams. We call. Not a very interesting hand. And he had pocket 70 returning into a bluff. So maybe he's just reacting to the small bet size. Who knows? Who knows what was going through this player's hand? But we've all done this. We've all spewed versus a small bet. It's just a certainty. If you played quite a lot of poker in the last 12 to 18 months, you will have seen a small C bet. You'll think, or you'll know, right, well, he's doing this with his range. He still has strong hands here. But you'll still be like, oh, let's just try and make him fold something. We've all done it. We'll all do it again. It's just part and parcel of the game, I guess. We probably shouldn't do it, but we do. And then, I mean, once we call his raise, I think his river should be like real spew. But we'll take it. From our perspective, it's a good result. We have 2 aces. We 3-bet. We get 2 callers a game. We get the cold call out of the big blind. Yeah, this flop. What do we want to be doing here? Definitely want to be betting, I think, because I think if we don't, it's going to check through too often. I don't think it's a spot we're going to expect our opponents to stab too much. And I think you wouldn't be out of order just betting really big here and just hoping someone's in the call zone that doesn't have us beat. But I think just betting a relatively anything. I'd say like 12 big blinds to 18 big blinds, perfectly reasonable. We go with 22, a little bit on the larger side, but whatever. Not the end of the world. Wow. I remember this, and I kicked myself here because I think this is like a pretty trivial fold now. There's two people in this pot. We've three bet pre, we squeezed, and then we've C bet pretty big. Someone's gone call, someone's gone all in. We're just beat here most of the time. And when we're not, but their combined equity is just going to be like way better than just two aces here. But at the same time, we're getting a good price, aren't we? I know I call here. The hand wouldn't be in here if we didn't call. But I think we're very likely going to be fucked a lot of the time and looking at needing one of our two outs to win. We do get it all in, and then that guy gets it all in, and we don't improve. And we were up against pretty big draw and a two pair. So actually, we weren't in as bad a shape as we could have been there. On another day there, we're going to be up against a flush draw and a set, and we're just going to be fucked, like absolutely fucked beyond belief. But yeah, I mean, shouldn't be opening pre, probably shouldn't be cold calling. So like, even though you look at games like GG, and you look around the tables, and everyone's a fucking like everyone's a reg. Excuse me while I take a drink. You can still see that people, despite the fact they're looking pretty tight and pretty reggish, they're still not playing great, and I include myself in that. There's still lots of scope to, if you sharpen your game up and just eliminate your mistakes, and like you're just making less mistakes than most of your peers. There's still win rates to be had, and we'll talk a bit more about that at the end. But I was chatting away in Discord yesterday to a handful of people, just generally just discussing poker in general, and I just think like if you get in these pools and you're pretty tight and like pretty damn disciplined, there's money to be made still, just by making fewer mistakes in your opponent. And that's how we always win at poker. The people who make the fewest mistakes at a table, are the ones that ultimately win the money. Whether that's, you're at a table playing live with like six whales, you're almost certainty to win at that table long term because there's no way you're going to make as many mistakes as them. When you start coming down to speed poker, where there's, like far more players just like yourself, then edges get thinner, over the long term, and you really have to make sure you're not the one that's making, slightly more mistakes. If you are, then you're just going to be losing money. If you're making a similar amount of mistakes to the pool, then you're going to be breaking even, losing to the rake. You want to be the guy that's making the least mistake. Now we're all going to make mistakes every single session, but it's the big mistakes that really come to hurt you. If a close spot's a close spot, and you get it wrong, but it was relatively close. It doesn't matter that much. It's the big, like, more egregious mistakes that are going to fuck us. I think this is a big mistake, just cold calling here. I think this is a smallish mistake, opening it pre. And I guess, once it gets back to him, I understand why he's called, because I would too. But it's probably not a good play. And we did not win the pot, even though some chips went to us. That was just our share of the side pot. What? Right, this is a splash pot. It's one of the GG have splash pots where now and again the table just turn gold and they'll just drop 10 blinds in. But this is one of them spots. So already 11 blinds in the pot, as you can see. So we've gone 9x to account for the pot size. And someone's called. What? Why are we getting two boards? I'm confused. Right, it's going to get all in at some point and then we're going to run it twice, I guess. That's why we're getting two boards. I guess that's what's happening anyway. So yeah, we've 9x pre. He's called. Did he check call the flop? He's check called the flop. We bet pretty big because it's just so many hands that can call. People fight really hard for these like splash pots. So many hands can call. We've gone actually with an overbet on this flop. He's called. We just shoved the turn. He's called, and he had the 3-4. So he was being pre-flop. You're a shambles, mate. I know it's a splash pot, and there's more dead money in there. But 3-4 out of the small blind when someone's 9x, I mean, for me, just folds your fucking hand. Then he's got a really good flop, and thankfully he's bricked out twice, and we took a nice pot down. Here we have the 8-7 of diamonds. We've defended versus middle position. This is going to be an all-in at some point too, because we can already see it's going to be a running twice board. We flopped the open ender with the backdoor diamonds. I think it's reasonable check call spot. I think it's a reasonable check raise spot. I've got a feeling I'm going to donk this because I've been doing a little bit of donking lately. I didn't donk this time though. Check, bet, raise, 3-bet. Okay. So I think our check raise is probably okay. We're not drawing to the nuts, sadly. A 10 doesn't give us the nuts. But with like open end the backdoor diamonds, and given that he's c-bet the flop pretty big, it's a relatively biggish bet. I don't hate the raise. I think we're allowed to raise more versus, well, I don't know if we are. I'm talking bullshit here. But I think when people, my feelings are, if people put larger bets in, it makes check calling less attractive. And if they are ever on a bet forward line, then we just win more when we raise. We have decent equity, so if we do get 3-bet, then we don't have to just fuck off. Although this is a pretty large 3-bet, and it's not giving us the most attractive price. I would hate it if I shoved here, because I think at this point, when our opponent bet 3-bets to flop, he's just going to be quite strong. I think we have very, very poor fold equity, but the problem is we're not getting a very attractive price to call either. So, fuck knows what I'm going to do. We do just call. We rip off the straight on the turn, and I think we probably need to just jam here. To allow him from, we don't want him checking back with a hand with a set, for example, and seeing the board pair. When he 3-bets a flop, he's just very likely to have an incredibly strong hand. I think we should just jam. We do. He calls. We hit the 7 on the river, which it's not ideal given that we already had a relatively vulnerable straight, and then the second river was a brick, and he had the 9-jack. So yeah, just a bit of a cooler really for him. I mean, he's attacked to be pissed off, I suppose, that the 8-7's got there. But yeah, it is what it is. Don't think we should play the hand that much differently. I mean, we guess we could just check call the flop and proceed from there, but that time we decided to raise. Defending the big blind, flopping a set, check raising a hope. What? I did say the last time I'd been toying with some donking. I guess I chose this one to donk. I mean, I suppose in theory it's a pretty good hand for the blinds to have. I think this board is going to check through a lot. I think we do need to develop in donking ranges on these boards. It's something I've been talking about and thinking about for fucking years. It's another thing that I've never got around to actually working hard on. But I think having donking ranges on these boards from the blinds is pretty good, because so often an opponent's just going to have like ace high that's just going to check back. They're going to pot control with some like pairs and things. So I don't hate the donk actually. Our opponent raises. I mean, there's a chance he could just be like raising with an overpair here. He probably shouldn't be, but there's a chance. We've got a set. We don't want to see any more cards come off. I think we should probably 3-bet here. We don't really want to call and have him just pot control the turn. I did just call though. I think we probably shouldn't. I think having like a donk 3-bet in range here is fine. It's exploitable. It's probably not good in theory, but I think in practice it's probably okay. Queen on the turn. Check, bet, shoot. Here we go all in. We do. He calls. And he had a weakish overpair, so I think I'd donk 3-bet probably. No, on that, no. Talking shit, Reggie's got an open ender and an overpair. Donk 3-bet would have got all the money in sooner, but turned out okay for us. But yeah, not to gloss over this, I do think we need to start, and I've seen more players developing donking ranges. Some of the accounts, I think maybe bots on Sky, are having some donks on these boards. Not many, but they're having some, and it's usually with a strong hand. So yeah, I think it's something we can certainly consider. Here we have the Ace King. Right, this is going to be boring because I'm just shoving because this is my strategy at the moment. Just 4-bet ripping Ace King pre, 4-bet ripping Ace King, 4-bet ripping Kings 2. So that's what we do. And interesting. Three bet calls it off with the king queen. Maybe he was just tilted. Maybe he's just shit. Who knows? But that was a nice donation. Tens. Right. This guy, I can already tell by his sizing, is one of the most filthiest fucking nits I've ever. He's shit, but he's so tight that he probably just makes fucking money still. He limps and he 5x's. That's just what he fucking does. He's a shithouse basically, and he plays literally. I mean, every time I see him playing, his stats are at best 13, 10, sometimes 12, sometimes 11. You know, and that's coming from someone who he's a big advocate of playing tight in these pools. But this guy, you know, he probably I see him some pretty big stacks, so maybe he's making decent money. But anyone paying attention to him and his like this thing here, this 5x, we'll be able to exploit him pretty quickly. So whereas I think this is like what he's doing is not totally unreasonable. You know, just basically playing tight, making big bets, hoping people, you know, have hands that can come with him. I think in a pool where, you know, people can see how you're playing, and every single day they were aware. If the guy's four tabling, every reg will be aware of this guy. I don't think it's necessarily that good of a strategy. Anyway, we called a set mine because we just think he's got aces a lot. We flop top set. Happy days. He c bets full pot. We just call. This guy just battles off with his overpairs and thinks we don't need to raise there. He's bet full pot. You can be almost certain he's going to at least pot the turn. We check again. He goes all in. We have that the easiest call ever. And he just had that, and that is really, in my opinion, quite atrocious. Just do not pot c-bet that flop. Do not barrel the turn for pot. Get his picked up like a straight draw. It's just, yeah, just shite. But we're happy to drag down one of the easiest pots of the month. We're going to squeeze here. I think we can go slightly bigger than 11. I don't think we need to go that small. But anyway, we get calls in two spots. Now remember, this is one. And this is interesting. So I'll be very interested to hear people's opinions on this. And try and form your opinion before you see the outcome of the hand. I'm going to go all in here. I'm pretty sure I'm going to go all in. And the reason for that was, you know, there's just so many fucking hands that opponents will call with. Flush draws, smaller over pairs, etc. There's a million loads of bad turn cards for us. I didn't really know what size to go. I thought, well, maybe just quite big pot, etc. But I thought if someone's going to call a large bet, they're probably going to call all in. You know, if someone's in here with that pocket sevens, pocket nines, pocket tens, flush draws, pocket jacks, they're not going to fold. And all in does a good job, in my opinion, of just ripping like a flush draw ourselves, like ace king of diamonds, etc. So yeah, tell me what you think of the all-in shove before you see the outcome of the hand. Now I know that I'm giving you all the opportunity to just be really result orientated here because you don't have to type your response until the hands are over, until you've seen the outcome. But yeah, tell me what you think about the all-in here because that's exactly what I'm going to do. We just go all in. We got absolutely thoroughly snapped by this guy, and I wasn't in love with that run out, but fortunately I'd already seen his hand. His hand was turned over, and he had the 8-9. I mean, I wasn't expecting people to call as wide as 8-9 there. But I mean, I guess if I said I thought pocket nines might call, there's no reason why 8-9 wouldn't call, I guess. So, yeah, I mean, what I've done there is, you know, it's something that, in theory, should force people to fold almost everything. I mean, there'll be a lot of people, if you were discussing that before, like the result, they'll be like, well, there's no, you know, if you just go all in, they're going to fold everything worse and only call with better. That would be a common argument against the all in. And, you know, it's a difficult argument to like disagree with because people should just fold almost everything. But in reality, they don't. You know, people call with hands that are just not disciplined enough to fold, and that's what this guy's done here. And we won the maximum. Min raise the 3-bet and the call. An opponent bets small. We just call. The opponent goes a little bit larger. I think this is the time to fold. I'm guessing we're going to have some hero calling incoming here. Almost certain we won't raise here. But I guess it's going to be me hero calling down. Um, I don't think we want the 10 of clubs in our hand here. If we're going to call down with tens, don't think we want to call down with tens very often at all. But if we do, we probably want to call down without a club. It probably won't make a huge difference, but it will make a slight difference. Our opponent shoves, we call, and I don't think this is a well played hand by me. Our opponent had just the kind of hand he was representing, and no one's going to be surprised to see that. I think that's quite a shy call down by me. I think we just fold. I guess after calling twice, the old argument of you can't call that turn and fold that river. I don't necessarily think that's a good argument because I think a lot of people will double barrel flush draws here and just give up when they miss, and only shove when they've got strong hands. So I think that's a very flawed argument. But yeah, we should just find a fold at some point, not pre, not flop, maybe turn, definitely river. Three betting the queen's getting a call. Again, this is a spot where we can check back. Some people would think about betting small as well. I imagine I'm just going to bet relatively big here just to charge his pocket pairs that haven't improved. Not to give any free cards, etc. All right, okay. Well, we don't get that. That decision's taken away from us because our opponent's bet, 150% pot into us. I mean, I guess we're just all in. He calls. And you just flop the nuts. Interesting line from our opponent. I mean, I like it. He's got the fucking maximum. He's flopped the nuts. And he's bet 150% pot. Nice. I like it. I fucking like it. Fair play to him. I don't hate the line. We got bummed. Royally bummed. Prince Andrew style. Only he doesn't get bummed. He's probably the one dishing them out. Pocket queens. King X flop. Again, we're up against somebody. Oh, remember this hand? This was against someone who had just outrageous stats. One of the few times you see an actual genuine fish in the GG pool. This guy had a 70 VP, he had a 60 PFR. There's just going to be no folding to this dude. And he had the queen. Excuse me. He had the queen deuce, so yeah, whatever. That's just a funny hand. It's nothing to learn from that, really. We must be getting quite close to the end of all the hands because this was my last session on GG yesterday. We've opened the ace queen. We get the min 3-bet from another guy. This guy was quite fishy. We put the 4-bet in. Not sure about the size, to be honest. I think we can probably go bigger. I guess I was in 4-bet fold territory unless he clicked it back again, so I didn't really want to make it bigger, but I don't like my size there. He calls. Flop has the top pair. We bet pretty big because we're up against a fish. He calls. We have a queen of diamonds. My guess is we're just going to bet big again here. I bet the biggest bet we can. He calls. And he had the 8-6 offsuit. Pretty nice. So now we've switched to party poker. And the reason I switched to party poker was that I was just getting a bit bored of Triple Eight. The software's a little bit laggy on my computer when I'm 4-tabling. I was bored of seeing the same players all the time. There's just so many people in there 4-tabling like I was. I was just bored, but I wanted to play. So I was like, let's go and have a look at Party Poker, see what's going on over there. And then I discovered something that I didn't know. Something that was very interesting. It's going to definitely shape my grind for the next day or so at least. I was playing 4 tables and I think I won a largish pot. So I rat hold as I do because a lot of my strategy includes just going all in. Not a lot, but some of my strategy involves going all in pre-flop. Now with as I was talking about ace, king, kings, etc. Don't want to be doing that more than 125 blinds deep, really. So I have been doing my fair share of rat holding, and I accidentally rejoined. And it was saying 4 tables. Well, I thought it only let me join one because I thought it was a 4-table cap. And then next minute, I'm fucking 7-tabling. I'm like, what the fuck? I didn't realize you could do this. So I ended up 6-tabling for the rest of the session. Getting 1,500 hands a fucking hour 6-tabling. I was in my element. I was loving it. So yeah, for the next few days, we're just going to be 6-tabling. Just to crush the volume in and just see how we do. Probably won't play very well, but hopefully I'll play well enough. Anyways, yeah, we're on here now. So we 3-bet to 10 big blinds. We pick up a call. We have the nut flush draw. We bet very small. Our opponent calls. Half pot on the turn. I think we can maybe go a bit bigger because we never bet folding. So maybe we can just go a little bit bigger to charge Queen X, charge like whatever. If he's just got another like large-ish random diamond, straight draw, I think we can probably go bigger than that. Our opponent calls again. We rip in the nuts. We go all in. Our opponent calls. And he had a hand that he probably shouldn't have been in the pot with. I mean, I think the raise pre's fine. Just fall to the 3-bet. Just fall to the 3-bet. But he didn't, and we benefited from that. Picking up the kings. We're just going to go all in here because that is my strategy now. He calls. We run it twice. We bink the king. We bink the straight. Although obviously on this one we do lose to the ace king. The one remaining combo of ace king that's out there. And he had the aces and we just won twice. There's one earlier in the week that I posted to Discord where I got it in aces versus queens, ran it twice on GG and we lost both. So this is like repayment for that travesty, I guess. And we just run it twice and win it twice, kings versus aces. Yeah, it was good to be me last night. It was good to be me. Here we defend the 7-8 suit at the small blind. This must be a misclick because this is something I just never do. I must have thought I was in the big blind or something because this is just not. This isn't me. See, please don't think me. When you see my stats at the end of the month, you'll realise I'm not doing this. This is clearly me just not concentrating. Anyway, we pick up a very strong draw. Again, this is the board. We're gonna have to, I'm afraid we're going to have to play this entirely from the premise of Reg thought he was big blind because that's clearly what's going on here. And I'm just not going to donk this board with a high frequency with this hand. It's a good board for our range. It's a good board for our hand. I did go with the donk. Our opponent raised, and I already know now I'm going to 3-bet. He goes all in. At this point, we just have to call and hope to get there. We do get there with the flush. Sadly, our opponent had a full house, so we lost the pot. And that's it. That's the end of the hands. I thought there was more from Party Poker than that, but there'll be more coming in future. I can promise you that. So there's all the hands. Obviously, I've made some mistakes in there. Obviously, we've had some nice coolers go our way, etc. But it's been a pretty good month, and this is the graph to date for the month. I mean, just look at that. It's outrageously sexy. We're already up way over 500 for the month, including rate back, and the month's 2 days old. So, I mean, it's beyond how good I thought it could have been. It would have been impossible to have done better. But apart from like the financial aspect, I'm incredibly pleased. We played like 16,400 hands in 2 days. That is a man who is committed to the grind, who is committed to, making close to a living from poker. Really, really happy with my grind. Really happy with the results. Incredibly happy with how fucking well I'm running. I mean, I'd have been reasonably happy with winning $166 in 2 days, plus like 90 odd rate back that I've had so far. So I'd have been really happy with that anyway. This rate back's not going to stay at that much, by the way. It's because I've had like 2 fish buffets cash in for the maximum on GG, and 25 of it is where I accidentally took insurance. I didn't know what I was fucking doing and lost the hand. So the hand went down as like a loss in Hold'em Manager when we actually broke even. So I just put the 25 back on as a bonus. But this rate back would have been, I'd expect it to be over this number of hands, like maybe 60 or something like that. So even if my all-in EV was, if we were running at this, I'd still be up like $220 for the month, which in 2 days I'd be pretty happy with. we're more than happy with anyway. So yeah, it's been going well so far. There's inevitably going to be some downswings because you don't play speed poker and not have downswings. It's just one of them things. It's going to be a 10 batting downswing incoming, and that's when I'm going to be tested with my resolve to continue grinding as hard as I have been. But whilst it's going well, we'll continue smashing the grind right up. And I know people like the red lines and the green blue lines. So that's considering the volume I've been playing. I'm not hating that. I mean, that's dropped off a little bit there. But overall, I mean, that is by my standards, that is a fantastic red line. If my red line is like anything more than, sorry, let's put this in big blinds for a moment. If my red line is like anything better than minus 10 big blinds 100, I'm delighted. At the minute, my red line's like minus 3 and a bit of big blinds per 100. So I mean, there's room to even have that go down a bit and still be really happy. I think a lot of it's to do with the fact I'm playing a lot tighter, I'm folding a lot more to 3 bets. I think like the things from red line that are really bad is like defending your blind too wide and then just playing badly post flop. And also like calling too many 3 bets and then just being forced to fold post flop. I'm not doing either of those things. I've been really quite tight from the blinds. And I'm not calling 3 bets out of position. I think that's a really big impact on red line. So things are going really well. I couldn't be more happy, to be honest with you, with the way things are going. And yeah, hopefully we'll be back on Monday with more hands. I think on Monday we won't bring the coolers. The problem is when I'm playing like 4 or 6 tables without tracking software running because you can't track it. It's hard at the end of the session because so many hands have gone on. It's hard to remember which hands you want to search for the ones where you're like, oh, I'm not sure what I should have done here. But we're going to try and find hands for Monday's video where I felt like it was a tough spot, I guess. But who knows? Maybe it's more of the same. But either way, we're done for now. Have a great weekend, everybody. Keep up your good grind if you're doing it. If you're not doing it, why not? Be lucky, be happy, and be well. Take care, everybody, and bye bye for now.